I was a homeless woman who somehow found a rich Greek billionaire to declare his undying love for me. They say Santorini is where people come to fall in love. I came here to disappear, not in the poetic, eat, pray, rebrand kind of way, but in the very real, my wallet's gone, my phone is dead, my life is unraveling kind of way. I had always believed that if I could just get here, just once, everything would change. I'd finally get content from my travel blog. I'd finally matter. And maybe I'd finally prove that the voice in my head calling me a fraud was wrong. But by the time the sun set on my third day, I had no money, no return ticket, no friends, and no working phone. Just a bruised ego, a dying battery, and 50 euros in coins that rattled like guilt in my pocket. Before I tell you how broke I was, remember to hit that subscribe button. Every subscriber helps us deliver more romantic content for you. So there I was, sitting on the steps of a whitewashed chapel at the edge of the caldera, watching the last ferry to Athens drift away like it knew I didn't belong here anymore. I hadn't eaten, I hadn't slept, and I was too proud to cry. The worst part wasn't even the hunger or the fear, it was the shame. I had told everyone back home that this trip was the start of something big. Instead, I was stranded and alone on the most romantic island on earth, with nothing but a tattered notebook full of unwritten dreams. And then I heard the sound, tires, slow, crunching gravel. I looked up. A black SUV rolled into view, gleaming like it had no business being this deep into the hills. Tinted windows, custom rims, the kind of car you see in tabloids parked next to yachts. The engine idled, then the door opened, and he stepped out. I don't even know how to describe the way he carried himself, like someone who didn't ask for permission. Ever. Tall, broad shoulders, crisp shirt, expensive shoes, no visible tension in his body, like the world bent around his decisions. His eyes met mine, and I swear I forgot what language I spoke. "You're not supposed to be here," he said, and somehow I said back, "Neither are you." That made him pause, smile slightly, then he said it. "I own this property." My stomach dropped. He wasn't some random tourist. He was the owner of the land, the chapel, probably half the cliffside, and even before he said his name, I knew I'd heard it before. Alexios Drakos, shipping heir, billionaire, the kind of man with security teams and enemies and Wikipedia pages written in 5 languages. I stood up too fast and tried to explain, but he wasn't listening like someone preparing to scold me. He was listening like someone assessing me. Then he said something I didn't expect. "You look like you're running from something." I blinked. He wasn't wrong. He looked at my bag, asked my name, told me his. And then, just as I was preparing to thank him and walk away with what little dignity I had left, he said something that didn't fit the moment at all. "What if I told you I could solve your problem, and you could solve mine?" I frowned. "What's your problem?" He smiled. "I need a woman, just for a few days." I stared. "You're joking." "No," he said, "not for anything inappropriate. I need a fiancé." I actually laughed. "That's insane." And he just looked at me with perfect calm and said, "Not as insane as sleeping on church steps in Santorini." He had a point. I didn't know it then, but that conversation would change everything. Because the next morning, while eating breakfast at his villa, I saw something in his study that made my blood run cold. A printed photo of me, asleep on the chapel steps, taken before we ever spoke. The moment I saw the photo, I knew 2 things. 1. Someone had been watching me long before I ever met Alexios. 2. He already knew who I was when he offered me breakfast. I didn't say anything right away. I just stared at the image resting so casually on his mahogany desk, a photo of me, curled on the chapel steps, backpack tucked beneath my head like a pillow. The desperation in my face raw, and unfiltered. And someone had captured it, not with curiosity, but with intent. Alexios walked in a few seconds later, sleeves rolled up, espresso in hand, acting like we were two old friends sharing a villa, and not two strangers tangled in something way over my head. I slept like a rock, I lied. He didn't look up. Good, we've got a long day. What's the photo on your desk? That made him stop. He turned to me slowly, measuring my tone. I tried to hold my ground, but my voice cracked anyway. Why do you have a photo of me, taken before we met? He walked over and picked it up like it was no big deal. Security gave it to me. My team monitors the hillside. You were a concern. A concern, I repeated flatly. You're a stranger on private property during a sensitive business deal. Wouldn't you be cautious? I should have screamed, demanded answers, thrown my espresso in his smug, beautiful face. But instead, I asked, why did you let me stay? He paused, and for once, he didn't have a polished answer. I don't know, he said quietly. That scared me more than anything else. By noon, I was in a white dress eating figs on a marble terrace, while Alexios explained the role I was now expected to play. We were engaged. Not really, of course. Just for a week. Maybe 2. Just long enough to convince his family, and more importantly, the investors circling his family's shipping empire, that he wasn't the reckless heir they thought he was. Apparently, a stable-looking engagement could mean the difference between inheriting an empire and being replaced by his cousin Nikos, who had all the charisma of a soggy breadstick, but none of Alexios's tabloid baggage. So I'm your rebrand, I said, raising an eyebrow. He smiled. My redemption arc. And what do I get in return? Cash, a flight home, a clean reputation, and if you want it, a second chance. I studied his face. It was too symmetrical, too composed, the kind of beauty that made you suspicious. But there was something just off enough. Maybe the tension in his jaw, the flicker of sadness behind the charm, that made him real, or real enough to believe. I want 3,000 euros, I said. He didn't blink. Done. Just like that, I became Lila Martin, the fake fiancée of Alexios Dracos, billionaire shipping heir, and possibly the most emotionally complicated man I'd ever met. The first test came that night. His sister Sophia arrived from Athens, a walking lie detector in heels. She greeted me with polite contempt, kissed both my cheeks like she wanted to measure my soul, and grilled me over dinner with questions that felt like landmines. How did you two meet? What do your parents do? When's the wedding? I answered them all with a smile and a steady voice, spinning the story Alexios and I had built over lunch. Midnight souvlaki, mutual fascination, slow burn love. Some of it was fake, but not all of it, because somewhere between faking our meet cute and finishing dessert, something shifted. Alexios brushed my hand under the table. Not dramatically, just a touch. Barely there, but it made my breath catch. Later, when we walked alone along the pool, I asked, how do you do it? Do what? Lie so easily. He stopped walking, looked at me. I've been lying to myself a lot longer than I've been lying to you. And then, he kissed me. Not like someone playing a role, but like someone who wanted to believe it was real. It was slow, intentional, warm, the kind of kiss that left no room for cameras or contracts, just two people suspended in a moment. And for a second, I let myself fall. But the next morning, everything shattered. I woke up to voices, urgent, male, Greek. I crept down the hall and saw Alexios speaking with 2 men in suits. His back was to me. He didn't know I was there. One of them asked, do we still proceed with the contingency if she discovers the truth? And Alexios said, calm, quiet, like he was discussing the weather. Yes, if she figures it out, we'll have no choice. I didn't run at first. I waited. I watched. I tried to convince myself I'd misheard. That contingency didn't mean what I thought it meant. That Alexios, the man who kissed me like I was a secret he wanted to keep, wasn't capable of turning on me. But the way he said it, if she figures it out, we'll have no choice. No hesitation, no emotion, just cold certainty. So I waited until after breakfast, until he left for his morning calls, until the staff had thinned, until the villa was quiet. Then I slipped out the side gate and ran. The thing about Santorini is, even when you're running for your life, it's beautiful. The cliffs, the sea, the pastel houses clinging to the rock like seashells. It's also disarmingly perfect, like the world doesn't care that your heart is pounding, and your whole identity might be a lie. I didn't know where I was going. I just knew I needed space, clarity, answers. I made it to the edge of the caldera before my body caught up with my fear. I sat on a stone bench under a crooked olive tree and opened the only thing I had left, my notebook. Inside, pressed between 2 pages, was the locket, the one the fake Sophia had thrown at me the day before. I hadn't dared open it until now. When I finally did, my hands shook. Inside was a photo of a little girl, me, but younger, maybe 5 years old, standing next to a woman who looked like me, but wasn't my mother. She had dark hair, intelligent eyes, and she was holding my hand like she wasn't letting go, no matter what. On the back of the photo, a single sentence was written in looping handwriting. Don't trust the boy with the ships. I didn't know what it meant, but I knew who it meant. That night, I snuck back into the villa. I know. Stupid. But something in me needed to know why. Why me? Why lie? Why kiss me like that if he always planned to hurt me? I found him by the pool, alone, barefoot, a glass of something dark in his hand. The sky above him was ink black, the stars sharp and angry. I know what you said, I told him. He didn't turn around, just said, I figured. Tell me the truth, Alexios. All of it. He let out a long, ragged breath and finally turned to face me. There was a file, he said. On you. Your real name. Your real mother. She used to work for the Dracos Foundation before she vanished. With you. Why? She knew too much. About my father. About what the foundation was really funding. What was it funding? He didn't answer, just stared out at the sea like it held a grave. And me? I asked. What was I? A liability, he said. A ghost from a buried chapter. He stepped closer. But then you showed up, unannounced, broke, beautiful, sharp-tongued, and I forgot. Forgot what? That I was supposed to make you disappear. My stomach turned. So you were going to kill me. He didn't deny it, but then he looked at me, really looked at me, and said, but I couldn't. God help me, I couldn't. There was something in his voice, something not calculated, not rehearsed, real, and even though I hated myself for it, I believed him, or at least, I wanted to. We stood in silence for a long time, 2 people on opposite sides of the same storm, and then he whispered, there's more. He pulled a folded paper from his pocket, something old, yellowed. He handed it to me. I unfolded it slowly. A birth certificate, not mine, his. And at the bottom, under Mother, was a name I didn't recognize, but under Father, the signature was unmistakable, same as mine, same first name, same last name, same, exact, man. I looked up at Alexios, mouth open, vision blurring. No, I whispered, that's not possible. But he just said, with quiet devastation, Lila, I think we're family. I ran again. But this time, I didn't get far. Because this time, I wasn't running from danger. I was running from truth. And it followed me anyway. I sat alone on the black sand beach, beneath the cliffs, the waves crashing like distant thunder, the folded birth certificate still clenched in my hand. Every cell in my body screamed that this wasn't real, that it couldn't be, that the man I had kissed, the man I had begun to fall for, could not be the son of the man who raised me. And yet, there it was, the signature, the matching names, the family web I never knew I was born into. But what hurt more than the facts was the feeling. Because I didn't just fall into this story. I fell for him. For his stillness. His storm. The way he looked at me like I was the first thing he hadn't already calculated. Alexios Drakos was never supposed to be mine. And I was never supposed to be his problem. But somehow, we became each other's undoing. He found me on the beach just after midnight. No guards, no lies, just him, in the dark. He didn't speak at first, just sat beside me in the sand, silent. We listened to the waves for a long time before I asked, "Is it true?" He nodded. "Our father kept 2 lives, 2 women, 2 children. You knew?" I asked. "I suspected, for years. I just didn't know the other child would look like you." The ache in my chest cracked wide open. "So that's it. We're blood. This ends here." He turned to me. "Number. That's not it." I stared at him. "You don't believe it?" I asked. "I believe it," he said. "But I also believe we're more than that name." I looked away. This is insane. Everything about this is insane. The foundation, the secrets, the fact that we were sent to destroy each other. He reached for my hand. "And still," he said, "you're the only thing in my life that's ever felt real." My heart stuttered. "You kissed me before you knew," I said softly. "And I loved you before I knew," he replied. That stopped everything. The ocean, the wind, my breath. "You don't mean that." "I do. I think I loved you the second you told me I didn't scare you. The second you stood up on that chapel hill with fire in your eyes and dust on your knees." He exhaled, voice shaking. "And now that I know what we are, it doesn't change what you've become to me." I closed my eyes. "We're bound by blood." "Barely," he said. "No shared memories, no shared childhood, just a signature, a man who never gave us love. I won't let his sins erase the only good thing either of us has ever found." My eyes blurred. My heart didn't know which direction was safe anymore. "What do we do?" I asked. He pulled something from his pocket, a plane ticket, my name on it, open return. "You leave, you go, you start over, on your terms, the blog, the life, no more shadows." I shook my head. "And you?" "I clean up the mess. I burn the foundation to the ground if I have to, but I won't drag you through it." Tears ran hot down my cheeks. "You're giving me an out." He nodded. "Because I love you enough to let you go." I should have taken the ticket. I should have walked away. But I didn't. I leaned in, and I kissed him. Not like the first time. Not with fear, or tension, or secrets between us, but like a woman who had seen the worst in someone, and still chose him. "I'm not going anywhere," I whispered. He stared at me. "You're sure?" "No." I laughed through my tears. "But I don't want safe. I want us. Whatever we are." He wrapped his arms around me, and we sat there on the sand, as the waves erased everything behind us. I never did publish the Santorini story on my blog. Some things aren't meant for content. Some love stories aren't for likes. Some scandals are sacred. But I will say this. I went to Greece to find myself, and I found a lie. And inside the lie, I found love.